The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ, or otherwise known as Admiral
And it's
COVID.
Friday in the rib. No, we're going to promote you now. You're Starfleet Commander. Starfleet Commander.
Peace, live long and prosper.
Another promotion. Live long and prosper.
Yeah. It was interesting because the mayor posted
off we go.
The mayor posted his report very late last night, although the city posted it early enough. But at the state level, we have 192,050 cases, 2,532 new cases, 10,435 deaths, 27 new deaths. And in Bristol County, we have 17,128 cases. Fall River saw an increase of 73 cases yesterday, bringing us up to 4148, and 3 new fatalities, bringing us up to 154. But I have to bring this up because the day before yesterday, it was not a small amount. The day before yesterday, we had 158 new cases. So on Wednesday night, we had 158 new cases. It adds up. It adds up fast. And this is why Fall River is in the red. Very much in the red. And we are the reddest of the red, according to some reports. So you'll have to see what that's all about. You know, when we started the show, I was talking to our producer. And I had mentioned that an article came out in Commonwealth Magazine yesterday about children in schools. And the article is titled, "In-Person Learning Now Considered High Risk by the CDC. Change in Guidelines Quietly Made on Agency Website." Here's what was important to me, though, and I thought would be very important to a lot of other people. This paragraph. The news comes just as the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Children's Hospital Association released a report this week that found that the coronavirus is infecting children now more than ever. As of November 12th, over 1 million children have tested positive for COVID-19 since the onset of the pandemic. Over the 2 weeks period between October 29th and November 12th, there was a 22% increase in child COVID-19 cases, or 185,829 new cases nationwide. In Massachusetts, the total is 15,562 cases among children as of November 12th, or 9.4% of total cases. That speaks volumes because remember, children didn't spread it. We heard that for a long time. Children don't spread the virus. Children don't spread the virus. Now the state is focusing on identifying COVID-19 infections in schools as they remain open in person before outbreak happens. But the CDC says in-person learning is high risk. So who are we supposed to listen to? The superintendents or the school committees, or do we listen to the CDC? I mean, nobody knows who to listen to. And I sent this article to Matt Malone, the superintendent of schools for Fall River, and the mayor. The mayor had no comment, but Matt Malone sent me back an email saying, I saw the article. Not that he was going to do something about it, but that he saw the article. So you have to ask yourself, who's in charge of the nut house? Because I can't figure it out.
Yeah, well, we've known that since the beginning. We've had contradictory studies from the Pediatric Society versus the CDC, and these people are all doctors. And the bottom line is nobody, because they've politicized it so much, so this is my opinion, obviously, but they've politicized this disease, this terrible pandemic that we're having. so much that the medical community just won't get together and admit what most of us know. This is a new disease. They're not sure of anything on this disease. When you get something that's brand new, you need time and tons of data in order to accurately know exactly what you have to do. But because they politicize this so much, everybody wants to give everybody instructions on how to do it because it's for political gain. Say, I'm handling it. You know, we've got the president blamed for not doing it, and you got Cuomo taking credit for doing it, even though he killed more people than probably any other governor by sticking them in a nursing home. And so this whole scenario has been polluted by politics.
Oh yeah, no question about it.
And that's the problem. The problem is that, listen, I mean, I don't have to tell you. You're in the field. You're a healthcare professional. You know, you got a brand new disease. Nobody knows what happens. We've seen that with medications. We talked about that other one that caused birth defects that they were given to all pregnant women for a while. And the reality is these things take time. They take time because you've got to accrue data. You've really got to study it. You've got to study it on a wide group, not on just a small, what happens to 2 or 3 people. So it's going to take time, you know, but rather than working together on this healthcare crisis, politics has basically divided them into political camps because it's like a pseudo medical thing and more of a political thing, and it's hurting the people, and that's the sad commentary. People are dying.
All you have to do is look at the vaccine. We have 2 vaccines which are now waiting for approval by the FDA, and the Republicans, more along the lines of President Trump, said, "I told you I would have a vaccine by the election period," which he was right. They had an election right around the election period. Now I'm hearing from the Democrats that the reason why they have a vaccine is because they know Joe Biden is president, is going to be president. And that's where the vaccine came from. So even the vaccine's been politicized. You cannot win. You cannot win.
Yeah. No, look, it's ludicrous. Trump's got nothing to do with the vaccine. Biden's got nothing to do with the vaccine. These pharmaceutical companies are going to become, you know, even richer. They're going to make billions of dollars on this vaccine, and you know, they've been developing this since the onset of because that's what they do. Let's face it, that's their job. It's their job to create medications. So, and to show you the idiocy of this and how political it is, you know, Cuomo was saying he wasn't going to take it because Trump somehow was going to put out something that wasn't ready. But as soon as Biden's president-elect, now all of a sudden Cuomo said, "I'm not going to. I want the vaccine in my state to distribute it." So now it's okay because like this vaccine has something to do with who the hell is the president of the United States, which is totally irrelevant. The fact is that Pfizer and the
Moderna.
Those companies are there to make money. That's what they do. They let them. You know, the only thing we can say about anything political was that President Trump did take away some of the regulations that slow down the development of a vaccine. And so they got it very quickly. That Operation Warp Speed helped. But the medication itself's got nothing to do with who the president is. And it's just the mainstream media is not media anymore. They're nothing more than propaganda arms. And so what they do is they manipulate the news and tell you the big lie, like Goebbels said, often enough so everybody believes it. But it's a tragedy. And while we're on COVID, one of our friends, and Carlos Cesar, we were told,
Yes.
has tested. He has COVID, and of course, we wish everyone with COVID a recovery. But just a special shout out to Cesar. I hope he's doing well and feeling better, and we wish him the best. And as we do to all the people who contract COVID.
Yeah, Carlos has done a lot for the community, and he's been the neighborhood leader for the Flint for some time. I had a conversation with him yesterday, and he says he still feels run down and dragging, and he feels weak. But he was still kind of uplifted. So hopefully his family is protected, and he gets well soon. And Carlos is a fighter, so I'm sure he'll come back. Because he's come out swinging a couple of times, especially at park board meetings.
yeah. So that's we wish him the best, obviously, and everyone with COVID the best. But let's get over to speaking of the park board and speaking of things like that, the CPA, which we are very shortly after the new year, we'll let the holidays get themselves. We want to announce that we are going to be putting together a group to get rid of that CPA and maybe get an underride, and also we'll look at the charter because let's face it, these things are disastrous. Now the CPA, there's big talk of the Bank Street Armory, some kind of like a swap meet we're having with the city. Is going to swap it out for something else, but the reality is what the city loves to forget, and politicians love to forget, is that the CPA has been used nothing more than a political slush fund for connected people, or to give city departments money, which they're not supposed to be doing. And remember, the CPA was passed for community preservation, not to be a political tool to give people money for their pet projects or give city departments money that are supposed to be running on city money. So the reality is, what everybody's forgetting is the Bank Street Armory got not one CPA grant for the roof, but two.
That's right.
And we've never, ever even heard why why the roof didn't get done with the first grant, and how they managed to get a second grant when they didn't utilize the first grant properly. So obviously when they put in for that grant, it was fraud. Again, criminal activity by the government is always accepted. Anybody else did that, you'd be going to jail. But the city got a grant to do that roof. CPA, your tax dollars paid to get a new roof on a Bank Street Armory that did not get a new roof. So be outraged. Be outraged by that. Because we always are, your tax rate continues to go up. They continue to spend money for no good reason. We didn't get a CPA grant for the fire department or public safety, but then we say, well, you don't want to pay, you don't want your taxes increased, you want an underride, we're going to have to cut public safety, because that's what will happen when we talk about an underride. And that's bullshit, because all they ever do is get more and more money, and they spend more and more money.
That's because they give all their French jobs.
What happened? Yeah. That's how they give all their French jobs. And okay, we got to segue into something later about the jobs. Remind me that. But we've talked about this, CJ, and so now it's your turn, because this shenanigan they're pulling with the Bank Street Armory, it stinks to the high heavens of connected people getting the deal of a lifetime.
Yep, political favors, and it happens all the time in Fall River, and people have just accepted it as the way of doing business in the city, and that's not what it is. I mean, I watched the Zoning Board of Appeals last night briefly, and it's amazing how nothing gets discussed, truly discussed, but everything gets passed. And they're going to pass things with restrictions, and then they pass it without restrictions, and it's just We're going to put restrictions on another property because even though the guy owns the property, we're going to put the restriction on that property. And if they sell that property, what's going to happen with that restriction? And, it was a joke. But this is how come we have the problem. We have political favors that are being played by people. It used to be said that if you had the right attorney and you went to the zoning board of appeals, whatever you were asking for, you would get. Now, I don't know if that was correct or not, but it always seemed that way. It's the same thing in city government. We look right now at what's happening. We have had the CPA for about 5 years. That's another tax. I don't care what they call it, it's another tax. And that money gets matched by the state, which is another tax. So it's tax money on top of tax money being put together. So the CPA raises your property taxes. Why you people voted for it is beyond me. Because, it sounded good, but I knew it was going to be corrupt, and it was. Then you have next year the layout of the debt exclusion. So again, we're going to have more property taxes. And remember, the debt exclusion was not necessary, but you people believed the lies. You believed the propaganda that if we don't pass this debt exclusion, we won't have a new school and our kids need a new school. Buildings do not teach children. Teachers do. And I'm not saying that we didn't need a new building, but we didn't need to take a debt exclusion. Sean Kadim said it very clearly. We do not need a debt exclusion, but we got one. So now we're going to be paying that for the next 30, 40 years. More taxes on top of more taxes. Yeah. And this is why we believe an underride should happen, because it's time to stop making the city live within its means and only funding that which is absolutely necessary so that these games can stop.
Yeah, well, they'll never stop until we stop them as a people. We elect city councilors who are not going to nod their heads, not going to. And remember, when we were campaigning against that debt override, it was supposed to come into effect in 23.
Correct.
Not 21, not 22, fiscal year 22, 23. And I remember our mayor saying that at every meeting, in every neighborhood association. Oh, that's way down the road, 23. By that time, we may not even need the money. Ha, ha, ha. And we said, we always need the money. It was a scam, another scam. We never need the money. It's like now, oh, you got the 175 tax factor, but your taxes are still going up. What did we tell you? Your taxes are always going to go up because the city council and the mayor never stop giving out TIFs, even though they've been proven ineffective. They never stop giving breaks to businesses while your pocketbook gets absorbed. It doesn't matter. No matter how many economists, no matter how many people going back to our forefathers, to Thomas Jefferson, say that taxes are regressive. They are not progressive. There's no way you can tax your way into prosperity. All the way, Winston Churchill, taxation is like standing in a bucket and trying to lift the bucket. It's impossible. And we have to explain that to AOC because he sort of doesn't understand expressions like that, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps. But the reality is your taxes go up every year because we never stop spending money, and our city council passes TIF after TIF after TIF. And you know something? There are businesses in communities that pay the max. There's more businesses. Why? Because people have money. No matter how many times we tell you, it's up to you to stop this by electing new people. This city will never, ever become viable until we do something, until we prioritize, as CJ said. Every time they want money, oh, police and fire. Well, it's up to you to elect councilors that say, no, not police and fire. Go look somewhere else. Go look at your own staff. Go look at the automatic cost of living raises you give to your people, but don't give to unions. Look to cut, look to tighten your belt. Let's bring out some of those old expressions that used to be used when we referred to government. Lean government. Prioritize spending. All these things. But you won't do it until you get new people in there. When you got the bobbleheads, because this truly is, as it is nationally, a class war. They don't care about you. You're living in an apartment, and your rent keeps going up and up and up, and you can't get a job, you're laid off, the COVID, and they're just rolling along their merry way, giving all their friends tax breaks and under the con of, well, the businesses need it. What the businesses need is customers. And most of the businesses in Fall River are still viable because they don't do business in Fall River. Do you really think that your corner store would rather have a whole bunch of people with money in their pocket walking into the store to buy goods than saving a few $100 in taxes? I think they would. But the businesses up in the industrial park that do business other places like Matuk with $500 towels. Do you know anybody with a $500 towel? What are the Matuk towel? Well, you and I both know a lot of people. I've never met anybody that had a Matuk towel, except maybe Will Flanagan. He might have had those. He might have had those in his gold shower that he had installed in the mayor's office. But that's about the only Matuk towel that may have ever been in any building that I've been in. But this is the problem. This is why we have to start these initiatives and put new people in. People just don't want, they just, as you said, they've accepted it. They just nod their heads. Well, look what the mayor did in New Bedford. What did the mayor do in New Bedford, CJ? He cut the salaries of all people who lived out of New Bedford by 10%. Because they're supposed to live in the city. And will Fall River ever do that? No. You know why? Think about the last 4 or 5 hires we've had in the city. They don't even live in the city. We can go back to Falciori. Now, they hired somebody that was friendly with Sean Kadim from Seekonk. They hired somebody else that's friendly with somebody from East Providence or something like that. Everybody we hire is from out of town. Even though we have a residency requirement. Do you think the city of Fall River would do something like that? Hell no. Hell no.
It's tough. And I remember when Linda Pereira, she came out and she pushed forward for a residency requirement. But accordingly, we have a residency requirement ordinance on the books, but it's unenforceable. So what good is it? Let's make it enforceable. Let's get a mayor with some backbone like Menino was, because I remember that 5-year battle of Menino's. And you know what? Turn around and say, nope, you have to have a residency requirement. And all you have to do is say, anyone currently working for the city, you're grandfathered in. Any new hires must be residents. Must be residents. That's how you keep the income within the city and the funds going to the businesses here. Right now, we have funds going everywhere else but here. So your tax dollars are flying out of the city and nobody's benefiting from them. This is why we need a residency requirement, and we need it now.
Well,
Fall River needs to make sure they can do it.
Yes, you said we do have one, but it's not enforceable. But there are communities that they'll say, well, we can't get anybody. Well, there are communities that have very strict residency requirements. And if you get a job there within 6 months, you have to move into the city and have an actual residence, not a post office box or something tied to a wharf down on a river, like one of our former city councilors did, using your bar room as a home address. But this is the problem in Fall River. As bad as New Bedford is, Fall River politically, forget it. You can't. 99% of the hires are from out of town because it's somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody. And you don't enforce it. So kudos to the mayor of New Bedford. Just as you said, Menino, and I'm very, very familiar with Menino. He took a stand for the people, the taxpayers of Boston. They said everybody with a city job making big money, they all lived out of town. Some of them lived in the Cape. Some of them lived in Braintree. Some of them, they lived all over the suburbs of Boston, and they weren't paying taxes. So Menino put his foot down. He tried to get everybody to move back in. He couldn't do that. But ultimately, 5 years later, they finally settled with everybody. They grandfathered the people in, but they made a residency requirement. And that's why Menino could have stayed mayor of Boston as long as he lived. The people of Boston loved him because he actually worked for the taxpayers. He said, you want to take money from the city, you want to make big money from the city, live in the city. And you know something? Especially department heads. There should be no department head that lives out of the city of Fall River, because I remember years ago there was a police chief here, and I remember him on a radio interview one time saying, "Well, I'm on my way home," because he was driving to his Sonnet. He didn't live in Fall River. And police, fire chiefs, you should live in the city of Fall River. Why? Because let your wife go shopping in a supermarket and get mugged, and maybe you'll pay attention to the crime rate. But when you get in your car at the end of the workday and drive to a suburb, you don't really give a damn about what's going on in the streets of Fall River. You can pretend to, but it doesn't directly affect your life. That's why people should live here, because let it affect your quality of life. It's just like those arrogant and insensitive politicians who tried, and news media who said, "Oh, well, what are you worried about them burning down Seattle and Portland for? It's only a couple of blocks." Well, that's really magnanimous of you, because what do you think the people who live in those 2 blocks that are being burnt to the ground, and those businesses that are being destroyed, that people put their entire lives into building, are going away? But that's the attitude. Hey, if it doesn't affect me, who cares? Let them eat cake. And that's what we have now. Marie Antoinette syndrome. Let them eat cake.
Are they getting it from Letty's Bakery?
Probably. They got it only if they got a TIF.
That's it. Only if they got a tip. That's for sure. But no, it's true. And I remember hearing from a city administrator. I don't remember which one it was, and I remember hearing from a city councilor that the reason why people don't want to come to Fall River to work here is because of our pay scales. How many times have we heard that we can't pay enough? Yet we get people who want the job. We can't pay enough, but we're getting people who want the job. They just don't want to live here. They just don't want to live here. They want to stay with there. As a matter of fact, look at our school superintendent. He doesn't live here. He doesn't live here at all. So, again, how do you know what's going on in your bubble of the world if you're not here? And that's a big problem.
Yeah. He doesn't even live close.
Yeah, he doesn't even live close. So it makes it difficult. But it's you, the people, that have to decide if you want a citizen residence requirement for a job in the city, and you need to make sure that your politicians know that you want a residency requirement. Well, I'm telling you, it doesn't get any better than this in Fall River, and it's going to be an interesting time. Well, we're running out of time here. We've only got a few seconds left, and is there anything you want to wrap up with, Chip? You only got a few seconds.
No, just tell your city councils to enforce this residency requirement. That's it. We have one.
Exactly. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching. It's great being in your home. Please remember, stay safe, stay angry, and have a great weekend. Thanks for watching.